the six-digit code that woke us at 1:03 a.m. The phone buzzed on the nightstand like a fly that knew a secret. At 1:03 a.m., the screen lit our ceiling in pharmacy blue, and six numbers marched across the banner where weather and birthdays usually go. Your login code is 284,913. It expires in 10 minutes. It wasn't my bank. It wasn't my email. It wasn't anything I recognized, and yet the contact name said exactly what it shouldn't. Myra, work. We'd labeled her accounts like that to keep life from slipping through our fingers. Work meant invoices, sponsors, the tedious glory of her studio. Work did not mean 6 digits at 1 in the morning. Myra stirred beside me, face turned toward the window the way she sleeps when she's angry at the room. I am not dramatic by nature. I let the banner fade, stared at the dark until it put its hand back over my mouth, and told myself the world sends strange numbers at stranger hours. 2 minutes later, it came again. Your login code is 284,913. We noticed a sign-in near the key. This time the city signed its name. The key isn't far, 4 tram stops and a bridge from our place, but we never say it with the definite article unless we want our mouths to taste like someone else's evening. I nudged her shoulder, you expecting a code? She blinked into her hair, the way people do when the dream is still demanding to be explained. What? Work sent a too far, I said, twice. She made the sound she makes when a day adds a new appointment without asking, irritation, then a quick scrape of apology. The scheduling app has been weird, she said. Sponsors want proofs at midnight like that buys them sincerity. From the key, I asked. She rolled onto her back and let the ceiling judge us. Go back to sleep, Noah, she said. I'll fix the settings tomorrow. But she didn't reach for the phone. That was the first real thing. Myra reaches. She's hands first. She handles. She leaves no code unfondled. That night she turned and tucked herself against me like shelter borrowed on purpose. I put my palm between her shoulder blades and felt the animal fact of her breath. We slept with that small distance lovers use when they're rehearsing honesty. Morning is a fairer trial. I poured coffee like a citizen and held my tongue until the kitchen remembered we paid the rent. She patted in wearing my black t-shirt and a look that was trying hard to be ordinary. Work code, I said, sliding the phone over. She sipped, read, and nodded once. Harbor sponsor. He's in a different time zone. The key is their office Wi-Fi, she said, and smiled a little as if she'd done me the kindness of believing her own explanation. It says near the key, I said, like GPS, like whoever it was outside trying doors. She set the mug down and breathed, a long full-body exhale that reorganized the day's furniture. Do you want to do this before or after we've fed ourselves? She asked gently. Before, I said, because pancakes make liars of us all. She didn't stall. 3 weeks ago I told you I was grading proofs at the studio. I was. A sponsor from the key asked me to see a pop-up they're funding. He's persuasive in the way money teaches you to be. We went. It was loud. We laughed at the wrong parts. He said I glow when I'm not worrying. I wanted to punch him and kiss him for noticing. And, I said, the blunt instrument I carry when scalpels feel performative. And I kissed him once, she said. I didn't like the taste of someone else's certainty on my mouth. I left. I blocked the number on everything that lets me pretend I'm new. I didn't tell you because some truths are better as practice than as press releases. The kettle clicked off as if it had heard enough and was tired of boiling for people. I handed her the honey. We didn't pretend not to be exactly where we were. I'm 60% reasonable and 40% the kind of man who needs evidence to stop narrating. I design sound for museums. My job is teaching rooms what happened to them. That afternoon, I pulled the SMS into a laptop and checked the domain the code had worn. The app was an event platform with a login server that geotags when it thinks it's helpful. Helpful said the key, 102 AM, IP that belongs to the bar built inside the old ferry house, the one with a balcony that makes decent people stupid. I could have called her again. I could have texted a sentence designed to break things and then blame gravity. Instead, I took the tram because trams have the moral authority of tracks. The ferry house wore a late-morning hangover like a scarf, chairs upside down on tables, a bartender teaching glasses to be loyal. Outside, the river did its simple, brilliant trick with light. I could see what a person wants to believe about themselves from that balcony. I could see what I wanted to believe about Myra. On the way back, my phone coughed up a calendar notification I hadn't asked for. Off-site, rehearsal, 8:30 p.m. It was labeled work and set to repeat on Wednesdays. Myra and I have a shared calendar because life has no interest in our memories. I stared at the word rehearsal until it shed its politeness. That night I didn't ask to tag along. I made pasta and let the sauce become a way to spend time that isn't surveillance. Myra texted at 8:47, running late, don't wait. At 9:13 the door message swam into my lock screen. Front door unlocked, guest code. We never use the guest code unless someone's hands are full. I stood in the hallway listening with my future, and then she stepped in alone, hair pinned in place by 3 bobby pins like commas. Did we give the code to anyone? I said. Joe took the steamer, she said, dropping her bag. She forgot to bring the key you leave by the basil we keep forgetting. I wanted to say something mean about basil and bobby pins and the way the word offsite tastes, but mean has a temperature you can't take back. I held her instead. She held me back. We tried not to sleep stupid. At 1:03 the phone did its trick again. 6 numbers the same, 284,913. It felt like a person, late and insistent, knocking on the wrong door. I tapped the banner and hit Change Password. Work's platform locked out everything except 2 devices. Myra's phone and an iPad we keep in the drawer with menus from 12 restaurants that used to deliver faster. On the iPad was a session labeled Event Admin, the key. I could end it. I didn't. I went to the kitchen and drank water and let the glass point out that I was being theatrical. In the morning, I told her everything I'd done like I wasn't embarrassed. She listened with her hands flat on the table, as if ready to steady the furniture if my voice tipped it. End it, she said. End all of it. Work doesn't need my body at 1 a.m. None of this does. I ended the session. It felt like closing a window in a house I didn't own. We agreed on 3 sentences written on the back of a takeout menu because significant paper makes me nervous. 1. If I want attention from a balcony, I ask for it in our kitchen. 2. If you need to kiss someone to find out you don't want to, tell me before your mouth does. 3. Truth before password. For 5 days we were good. We were petty and gentle and brave in small ways that people never clap for. On the 6th, my phone buzzed with an alert from a photo album called Deliverables. I never look at that. It's all signage and color swatches and fonts good at holding themselves together. This time the thumbnail had a face, Myra, in profile, lit by an ugly overhead that made her look like a saint who hates paperwork. The caption auto-generated by some eager AI. Tonight, final proof balcony test. I tapped. The iPad had taken a live photo, 5 seconds of accidental honesty. Myra holding a poster mock-up against her chest like a shield, the fairy house rail behind her, a man's hand ghosting into frame to smooth the corner where design meets weather. Then his voice, low, the kind of low money buys, push first, the lock sticks. Myra's laugh, small and involuntary, and then the clip ended, merciful and not. I stared at the ceiling until it remembered me, and then I walked to the fairy house because I am apparently a pilgrim to ugly truths. The balcony door did stick. I pushed. It relented, old wood hitting its memory. Outside, the river pretended it had never betrayed anyone. Down in the corner, someone had left a matchbook like a clue that wanted to be a prop. I took nothing with me except my temper and the wind. I went to the studio. Myra was there, surrounded by the kind of mess that counts as proof: clamps, ink, a pair of scissors that looked like a weapon for a story with better budgets. She saw my face and did not recoil. "Kitchen or small room?" she asked, gentler than I deserved. "Small room," I said. It was a storage alcove behind her cutting table where she keeps samples of materials that refuse to admit they are stubborn. We sat on a roll of canvas, and I tried to speak like a man, not a witness. "I saw the live," I said. "I heard him." She closed her eyes like someone receiving a diagnosis she already knew. "Marco," she said. "He thinks locks obey him because doors have not been cruel enough in his life." "He kissed you," I said. "Not because I didn't know, but because some verbs must be allowed to stand in the doorway and ask for names." "Once," she said, "on the balcony where the river forgives. It was nothing I want to remember except as what I won't do again. I told him last night he doesn't get to be an adjective on my calendar. He left like a man who thinks leaving makes him generous." "And you?" I asked. "I came home," she said. "I wanted to say the quiet part first. I want you. I also want to be looked at like I'm not useful. That second one is not his to give me and not yours to withhold. I have to practice looking at myself like that. Help me when I forget." We put the poster on the table and marked all the places where truth should be brighter. At midnight, she pulled me by the belt into the little alcove, and we kissed between giant rolls of vinyl like thieves. The heat arrived in its arrogant old coat. I flattened my palm against her ribs and felt the yes that has rescued us more times than I have toes. We didn't ruin it trying to turn it into an argument we could win. We let it be oxygen. The next day, Marco sent a text that should be illegal for being both decent and something else. "I'm sorry for mistaking your attention for permission." Myra typed back, "Thank you for leaving," and nothing more. She put her phone face down and slid it across the table to me, not to be watched but to be witnessed. There's a difference. Weeks learned us. We kept the dumb menu with our rules magneted to the fridge. When she needed spark, she said storm, and I put my hands where storms go to learn they're safe. When I needed quiet, I said library, and she pressed her mouth under my jaw and made silence a supportive piece of furniture. We bought basil like optimists and used all of it. We kissed on actual roofs with our names in our pockets. 2 months later, we ran into Marco at a gallery opening. You know, the kind, glass pretending to be generosity, wine pretending to be personality. He nodded across the room and made himself smaller, which looked good on him. He came by where we were standing and said, "The piece sings." I said, "Because she tuned it," and he smiled and took his exit with grace I decided to respect. That night at home, she climbed into my lap in the kitchen while the pasta boiled, shameless and appropriate. We were careful, then greedy, then careful again because marriages deserve craft. The timer went off and we ignored it for 12 unashamed seconds. The 6-digit messages still show up sometimes. Two-factor codes belong to a world that loves gates. When they arrive at rude hours now, we read them out loud and laugh, then we use them the way they should be used, to let the two of us into the only account that matters, Hers, mine, ours, the kitchen, the small room, the door at the fairy house we no longer need. Last week at 1:03 a.m. the phone buzzed again. I woke, turned, and found her already looking at me. "Don't start without me," she said. "Then come here," I said. She did, and like a good password, we were exactly long enough and exactly known.